Coffee and Headlines is brought to you by the generous support of our viewers and the following community partners: Best Cord Cutting TV, Bravos Restaurant Bar, El Rey Lounge de Versalles, Joint Boutique Hotel and Co-work, Puerto Vallarta Neurofeedback, Puerto Vallarta Owners Reps, Oculto, and Siam Cocina Thai. Thank you for your support, and thank you for supporting our community partners. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is our morning get-together live here on Facebook and then available later on today on YouTube, where we take a look at what's going on in our city, state, and country, what's going on in your lives, what kind of questions do we have, but not today. Today, we are going to have no news. Why? Why not? It's Saturday. It's a good time to just chill and take a look at some photos. As I mentioned in the show announcement some 40 minutes ago, there's going to be no news today. Today, we're going to take a deepish dive into the town of Talpa de Allende, which is one of the three Pueblos Mágicos I recently went exploring with some friends this past weekend. As I promised, it's taken me a little bit of time to go through all the many photographs that we took, but I am going to start today by sharing the first third of our trip, which was the time that we spent in Talpa de Allende. I have photos, I have videos, and I offer this opportunity for you to ask any kind of questions that may pertain to traveling through Mexico by car and staying in small towns. Now, some of you may be very familiar with this experience, others somewhat, others not so much, others not at all. It can be a lot of fun, but I'm sure that if I was driving in a foreign country, I would want to know about potential issues to be concerned about, pitfalls, tips, and so forth and so on. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through photos and videos in the first part of the show. Then we'll go through the weather, and then we will look at your questions and answer them. As usual, it helps a great deal when you add a capital letter Q at the beginning of your question and and a capital letter N if you're watching for the first time live and you'd like a nice little welcome. The capital letter Q goes a long way to help break down your important questions from whatever conversations you may be having while I am sharing the information. So let us get started. I'm not even going to... No, yeah, and let me show you the lay of the land first and foremost. Oh, that's lovely lay of the land. No, that's not what we want. What we want is this. So to begin with, let me show you what the trip entailed. And then I will share some pre-trip information that might be helpful. This is, of course, Western Jalisco. You can definitely see, hold on just a second. You can see Puerto Vallarta there on the map. And then there's San Sebastián del Oeste. And then there is Talpa. I'm sorry, that's Mascota. And then Talpa de Allende is further down here. Now, to get there, we took 544 highway, which I'm going to show you in a minute. This is a highway that goes from Puerto Vallarta to Mascota. Once you get to Mascota, the highway turns into Highway 70, and it continues all the way to Guadalajara. This is what we know as the free road, the long road to Guadalajara. This is a road that I recommend when you are not in a hurry to get to Guadalajara. Why is that? Well, because it's a mountainous road. It's a lot of curves, and it is it is a slow road. You cannot pass slow vehicles easily because there's a lot of curves along the way. So, but the flip side of that is that you can stop at all kinds of little towns that are along the way. Maybe you just need to have a little boy's room stop, or maybe you want to stop and check out some things. In any way, whenever I am not in a hurry to get to Guadalajara and I'm driving with friends or maybe by myself, I like to take this road. So, of course, of everything that I showed you on this screen, we knew that we wanted to spend one night in Talpa. That was going to be our first stop, and that would have been Saturday night. And then we wanted to spend the morning in Mascota on Sunday, morning and afternoon. And then we wanted to spend Sunday night and Monday night in San Sebastian. So let's talk about lodging for a second. We are so used to dealing with or working with or successfully booking places ahead of time through all kinds of websites, Travelocity, Expedia, you know it. But when it comes to visiting small towns, a lot of the smaller hotels are not listed on any of these booking platforms. So the only way to arrange for travel ahead of time is by calling. And when you're calling, the chances are that whoever answers the phone, if they answer the phone, are not going to speak English. So for starters, this is something that you want to keep in mind. In the case of our first night in Talpa, there is a hotel that I really used to like, where I truly wanted to bring my friends to, called Casa Grande. Um, and I called like at the end of December and asked to make reservations. And they said to me, well, the person that takes reservations is not here. Can you call in a week? And I thought to myself, okay. So a week later, I called, and the person said to me, oh, we'll get back to you tomorrow. And they didn't. And then the third time that I called, they said, we absolutely will get back to you tomorrow and let you know if the rooms are available. And they weren't. Or at least, I don't know if they were. They never called me back. So we drove to Talpa de Allende, not knowing where we were going to stay, which is fine because my group and I decided, okay, this is the way it's going to be, and we'll plan for the best. Of course, for the San Sebastian part of the trip, I've built a beautiful relationship with one specific hotel and the owners for many, many years, and they knew months ago that we were going to stay with them, and that's a different story. So, something to keep in mind, first and foremost, even before you start exploring the little towns, you want to adjust your mindset to the fact that you may or may not be able to book accommodations ahead of time. Of course, nowadays, Talpa de Allende has a couple of boutique hotels where you can certainly call ahead of time, and there's going to be somebody that will answer the phone, and they will answer in English, hopefully, and you'll be able to book your room, but it's going to be a lot more expensive than if you were staying in a regular hotel. So that's the first thing that I wanted to mention even before we took off. So we took off and drove, and our first stop, well, not our first stop, but our first destination was Talpa de Allende. And even before I continue with these photos, please know that everything I'm going to show you, with very few exceptions that I'm going to point out, happened in a radius of 4 to 5 blocks, completely flat and easy to walk around. So the idea in Talpa de Allende is you park your car, you check into your hotel, and then you spend the rest of the time there just walking around. Of course, in our case, we, as I mentioned, we didn't have accommodations. So the first thing we wanted to do is find a place to stay. Now, Talpa has dozens and dozens and dozens of budget hotels because that's the majority of the market in Talpa. See that that orange wall on the left? That is a boutique hotel. Doña Francisca, it is called. But of course, Doña Francisca, for example, charges 2,700 pesos per night if you want to stay there. So what we did is, instead of spending precious time um, just roaming the streets looking for a place to stay, we just settled on the closest hotel that was the hotel that was closest to where we parked the car. And we parked the car 2 blocks away from the main plaza. And honestly, I don't even remember the name of the hotel, but this was 600 pesos a night. It was a very basic room, which is typical of a small town like Talpa de Allende. And we dropped our bags. As you can see, this was, oh, by the way, this was 600 pesos a night. I did say that. There were less expensive rooms, 500 pesos a night with only one bed, one double bed. But there were none left for us to pursue. And since we all wanted separate rooms, this is what we got. This is where I slept. Looking out the window to the left side, there was a cinema that was closed. At some point in this town, there was a movie theater that clearly is no longer in operation. And then to the right, that's the view from my window. But I want to go back very quickly to this photograph. Those trees that you see in the background, that's the main plaza, which I'll show you in a second. And as you head over there, there is this monument to the pilgrims. You can see, I hope you can see that there's a woman holding a baby standing up, and there's a man kneeling. And what that represents, it's the thousands of people that visit Talpa de Allende every year. And it is an important religious destination here in Mexico. So this is right before the main plaza. And the main plaza's main feature is, of course, the Basilica of the Lady of Our Rosary of Talpa. This is it. This is the religious destination in the town. The day was gorgeous. It was cold. Everybody was wearing jackets and whatnot, particularly at night. Now, this is another view of the same church. This is standing on the second story of the municipal market. There is a balcony or a terrace on the roof that you can climb up to through a set of stairs. And the market itself is just like any traditional Mexican market. But from up here, you can really take in the view of the main plaza. Now, obviously, what goes on in the church is a lot of praying and a lot of weddings and a lot of quinceañeras and first communions and things like that. This is a church that works full time. There's always something going on. There's always church bells ringing. Not far from the main church, like 1 block away, is the parish of San Jose de Talpa, another smaller but cute little church. There's about 10 churches in Talpa, and the town is tiny, tiny, tiny. Behind the main church, like 1 block away, is a museum dedicated to the Virgin of Talpa. Unfortunately, we couldn't visit it because it was closed. The museum has a lot of religious relics. But I did manage to take a photo from the outside of the museum of this wall, which indicates the little towns that are on the way to Talpa along what is known as the Pilgrim Route or the Ruta del Peregrino. And we learned that from Ameca, which is an important city, small city near Guadalajara, all the way to Talpa, it is 117 kilometers. And this image shows not only the different towns that you pass through, but also the meters or the level above sea level that you get to climb along the way. So for those people that go to Talpa and walk for religious purposes, it is quite a considerable physical challenge. Now, Talpa is all about guava paste and guava paste rolls. And quince and other fruits. The big industry in this tiny town is the manufacture and the sale of these delicious traditional Mexican treats. This one happens to be called Fábrica de Rollo El Milagro. There are dozens of such um, factories or shops all over the place, but this is the one that, for better or worse, for whatever reason, this is the one that I've always made my shopping at, and I love it. Yesterday or the day before, I featured this photograph. This was taken. I featured it in the show notes. This was taken inside of this factory, and you can see these two workers spreading warm guava paste over plastic covered planks of wood where it is spread out, and then it may be covered with a filling, and then it is rolled into um, sellable rolls and all kinds of things. And here's a couple of, before I go on, if you notice these structures on the left, these are giant copper bowls that are tilted and they rotate. They are always moving, as I'll show you in a video in a moment, and they're always moving so that the paste can get to the consistency that is necessary before it can be spread out over these wooden planks. Now, these are from other shops, but this is just a sample of the kinds of guava and quince and coconut and pecan based products that you can find here. They're very yummy, they're very habit forming, and they're very addictive. So I bought a bunch of these for friends. Here's another look of the different varieties that you can get. And I took a bunch of these photographs because it is fascinating for me to see how much of this is manufactured in the town. Now, I showed you the tilted kettles. Here in this other shop, you can see that the kettle is also made of copper, but it is just like a more traditional, where is it? Here. It's a more traditional type of kettle. And think about these paddles as a giant beater that gets thrown into the mix, and that is how the guava paste is stirred. And back here are the many wooden planks where the paste is set to dry before it is rolled into something that you can consume. Now, what is next? As I mentioned, most of the walking that we did was on flat terrain, but there are little hills and not so little hills in the town, and one of the hills features on top of it this monumental statue of Jesus Christ. We climbed all the way there because there's a monastery on top, and there is this beautiful sculpture. And of course, you can take in a beautiful view from top of the hill. Me being so freaking out of shape, oh my God, it was a struggle getting there. But as you're climbing through fences, you can see how Talpa de Allende is located in a large valley in Mexico. Let me see. What else do we have? Here's another photo from top of the hill that shows you the main plaza. So here is the first main church that I showed you. Here's the other church that I showed you. And there's the main plaza down there. So as you can see, it's not a large town. It is very, very beautiful, and it's full of character. So this is what we did throughout the day. At some point, we sat down and had cocktails and a bite at a small restaurant that was on a second story right in front of the church. It was very affordable. I think the mezcal and raicilla shots were like 70 or 80 pesos. Albert, who was there, may be able to correct me. But again, once you get to smaller towns, it's amazing how affordable food is. And then, of course, at night, you think everybody goes to sleep. Oh, no. The town is vibrant, full of activity. Vendors stay open until late. As you can see, everybody was bundled up because temperatures drop considerably during the evening, particularly this time of year. And it was fun to go out and look at all the people that were walking all over the place. Of course, we are in the heartland of vaquero or charro or cowboy land. And this particular store caught my attention. Shout out to my dear friends Luke and Claude, who are horse owners. Whenever I travel, I love bumping into these shops that have all kinds of paraphernalia for you to be able to retrofit or outfit your horse, and of course, whatever it is that you wear while you're riding it. There were all kinds of accessories that if you are a vaquero, you would want to know about. You could even shop for your own cow skin rugs at this location. So it was a lot of fun to explore all the things that they had. Just I think, oh yeah, it's a different version of something I just showed you. And then we settled on for dinner. We settled at this restaurant called Casa Allende, which was again like half a block away from the main plaza. And they had sushi, and they had pizza, and they had salads, and all kinds of things that we know and love. I think I took this photo because I got a kick out of the fact that one of the rolls was called a culichi sushi roll. So I thought that was a cute little name for it. Let's see what else. This is another view of the church at night. As you can see, this must have been around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And there's a lot of people just hanging out, chilling, people watching. And we, of course, did the same thing. There's Albert in the foreground. We are looking at these beautiful trees that are right on the main plaza. And here's another view of the main church. And I took a bunch of these photos because it was just fun to see how, people are out and socializing and having a good time. It's hard for me to tell whether these are locals or people that are staying overnight. But I can tell you that by the time we came back to our hotel, the hotel was full. There were no extra rooms available for anyone to pursue. And if I recall correctly, okay, so here's Albert and Lars. And the main plaza is behind us. And our hotel, I think, was this building over here. So that is about how far we had to walk to our hotel room to crash for the night. Here's another look of the same signs. As you can see, there's a hotel right there. There are many, many hotels. But again, the challenge here is you don't find these hotels online to make reservations. And when you make reservations, you may be fortunate to find people that speak English, but I wouldn't count on it. So that is something that you want to keep in mind as you're walking through Mexico, as you're driving or exploring through Mexico in smaller towns. This is another hotel, Hotel Madroño. I just love that whole block because it has these posts which seem to be absolutely ancient, and I just love it there. This is the morning after. The morning after, of course, there were no amenities in our hotel. We were like itching for a cup of coffee, and we went to the main plaza, and there was a lady selling what she called canelita, which is little cinnamon, which is essentially cinnamon sugar water, and they throw a little bit of Mexican rompope or eggnog to the into the mix. So that was our morning drink. Of course, at some point we found civilized coffee, but people were all bundled up around the plaza and getting ready to go to church. And here's another view of the church right in the morning. As you can see, Um, Everybody's bundled up. It was very, very cold. Now, here I have two photographs of toilets that I wanted to show you. Now, why would I take a photograph of a toilet? Well, for better or worse, in a lot of small towns throughout Mexico, you will not find seats in public restrooms. And I did some digging on the internet and found out that this is not because of the reason that I thought. I used to think that they don't put them there because people steal them. But actually, from all the research that I did online, this is not only happening in Mexico, it's happening in some European countries and I'm sure some Latin American countries. I saw some reports of many towns in Italy where there are no toilet seats in public restrooms. And you may wonder why. Well, the reason is because it's easier to clean them without the toilet seat. That said, I'm going to show you yet another photograph of a toilet, and this one I show you just because it is anecdotal. And I think it makes an interesting point. As you can see, the toilet seat in this toilet is smaller than it should be, and it's dangerously close to the edge of the actual toilet. Why do I show you this? Well, because that was the toilet seat in my room. So what I'm going to show you, or what I'm going to tell you now, is not a rant. It is a memory, an anecdote. But these anecdotes, when we travel, we can turn them into curious memories, or we can turn them into rants, depending on the kind of traveler we are. Let me tell you what happened. Well, it was time to use the toilet. So, like everyone does, I sat down on the toilet seat and let me look at my monitor so that I can see that you can see what I'm doing. There you go. So just pretend that my hands are the actual toilet seat. So I sit down and all of a sudden it went boom. And I went boom. Well, the darn thing, well, maybe because I'm heavy, but the darn thing like folded into itself and went into the toilet, and the upper part landed so close to my penis that I thought I was going to lose it. I swear to God. So I'm like in the middle of what I was doing. And once you start doing, it's difficult to stop. So I tried to get up and the toilet seat was stuck. It really was. So eventually I found a break in what I was doing. I got up and I pulled it out and I ended up finishing my deed without using it. Now, why do I tell you this? Because for me, it was a funny memory, but I know how some of you travel. I know that some of you travel with a lot of expectations. And one thing that is certain of Mexico, and I'm sure is also certain of many places around the world, you want to leave your expectations behind and you want to embrace the reality of where you are. If your experience ends up with more anecdotes than rants, chances are that you will enjoy yourself and you will be back. But if you are the type of traveler that complains about the toilet seat was missing and the sheets were coarse and the towels were not properly folded and there was no this and there was no that, I know you. I know some of you are that way, and I'm not holding it against you, but I'm just going to repeat this again. Traveling through small towns in Mexico is an art, and it's art for some people, but not for everybody. Before we dive into the weather and before I take a look at your questions and comments, I do have a little not edited collage of videos that I took through the day and the evening and the following. I'm sorry, I didn't realize my microphone was muted. Here is one of those guava and another one of those guava factories in action. And here is a short video of the artisans that I showed you earlier making the guava paste. And once we get to a certain point, I know that I'm going to have to pause the video to set it up. Here we go. This was so completely beautiful and unexpected. So we have climbed up to that monument that I showed you earlier. And of course, coming down the hill was a lot easier. And I started hearing some mariachis around a corner. And I wanted to see what it was all about. Well, we cut up the mariachis, and it was a small quartet of musicians that were walking along with a bunch of people, families, friends, and on top of the procession were a bride and a groom that were heading down in full gown to get married at the church. And this was totally unexpected. I didn't know if it was a tradition or what the deal was. But in a moment, you should be able to see there goes the bride. Let me turn that up just a little bit. There's a tour bus again. And the wall that you see behind, that is the side of the church. And I think it was like shortly before 5 or shortly before 6. So they were clearly getting ready to just walk into the church, have their marriage, have their service, and then move on. And this was Talpa at night. There goes Logan. Look at the floor. Look at the tiles on the floor. Those tiles are probably ancient. And there are those wooden posts that I had mentioned before. There's my Dr. Simi. He's everywhere. And this is the morning after. People heading to church, all bundled up. I think it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. The shoe shine guy was busy early on. The guy that sells religious medals and things like that was also busy.
Claro.
Just beautiful. That's the side of the church. And of course, there's all kinds of trinkets that are available for purchase, some edibles, some souvenirs, some religious medals and whatnot. There were a lot of medical, herbal, alternative products, which are very common in the mountains or in small towns. And I think we have one more. Oh, yes. The tiny horses. There were a lot of tiny horses, but check out that little boy. I mean, he must have been like 5 or 6, but he's wearing the full regalia, which again is very common for children and their parents to be wearing traditional wear. And this brings us to the end of the little Talpa mini dive. Let us take a quick look at the weather, and then we can take a look at your comments in a second. The what? Defrag me sideways and call me Charles Babbage. The sun is here. I don't know who Charles Babbage is, but I know that it is 22 degrees out there right now. Humidity is higher than usual at 76%, at least higher than usual for this time of the year. And today we are going to expect clear skies with a high of 27 and a low of 16. Tomorrow, Sunday, is going to be humid with clear skies throughout the day with a high of 28 and a low of 17. And then Monday, it's going to be a humid day with mostly cloudy skies throughout the day, a high of 27 and a low of 17. Let us switch over to the comments just to see what you guys have to say. One quick thing that I want to mention, if you're thinking, oh my God, Talpa, I got to go see it. How do I get there? 2 options. You can drive, and it'll take you, let's see, 1 hour, 15 minutes to La Estancia, another 25 minutes to Mascota, and another 20 minutes. It'll take you a little over 2 hours to get from Puerto Vallarta to Talpa on your own vehicle. Option number 2, there are buses. The bus terminal for the bus that goes from Puerto Vallarta to Talpa and then continues all the way to Guadalajara is in Versalles, about 5 blocks away from my apartment. And but it's an old bus. It makes a gazillion stops, and I asked them, and it takes about 6 hours by bus to get to Talpa on the old road, on the old buses, which is definitely not advisable. Potential option number 3 could be if there's enough people in your group, you could always rent a van from Puerto Vallarta and split the cost among those of you that are going. And this concludes my little Talpa deep dive. Let us take a look at some of your comments. Boom, 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 boom. Good mornings, good mornings, good mornings, good mornings. Great news. Den, thank you very much for sharing. Happy Saturday. I was able to push Kathy to and from Costco this morning, feeling a bit better each day. That is great news. Let's see. More good mornings. More good mornings. Oh my God, Paco, have you heard the song Himno Migrante? Cargo del colectivo Legado de Grandeza. Oh my God. No, I haven't heard it, John, but I'll be happy to look for this particular piece of music and see what it is all about. Thank you very much for mentioning it. Let's see. Oh yeah, that was so funny. Logan, our front desk employee clearly belonged to the variety of people that See, what happens in a lot of these towns is that families and young people migrate to the United States, and then their children come back or their grandchildren. And the woman that took care of us at the hotel spoke flawless English. She said her name was Claudia. It was really, really funny. But again, we got lucky. I would not count. As much as locals will get a kick out of the fact that you're out and about speaking in English, and they will try to say English words just for kicks, I would not take for granted that you will be understood if you don't understand Spanish. Thank you, Logan. The hotel in Talpa was Hotel El Paraíso. Plenty of hot water in the shower. Very basic, but convenient. Absolutely convenient. Again, because we were 3 blocks, not even 3 blocks away from everything that we wanted to see. Now, there are other things to see in Talpa, not within the city. There's a beautiful maple forest that is about 45 minutes away. But those little tours, those little vans can get you there and back. It's just that we were there for only a few hours, so we couldn't enjoy that. Did you happen to notice if Carmen's Bakery was open near the Long Bridge? I don't know who Carmen is. And the big bridge, I'm sure you're referring to the large bridge that is on the way to San Sebastián del Oeste. I didn't notice, but there are businesses in both sides of that giant bridge. Let's see. Thank you for your comment, Laura. Thank you very much. And Albert confirms the most expensive raicilla tequila or mezcal shot that we found in this town was about 80 pesos versus sitting down in a restaurant here in Puerto Vallarta where the same experience will set you back close to 200 pesos. What was my favorite thing about that visit? I have 2. Number 1 is returning to a town that I hadn't seen in many, many years. I don't think I had been to Talpa in close to a decade. And seeing that it hasn't changed. Of course, there's more. It's grown, but essentially it is the same place. I got to the guava paste factory that I like, and I saw the woman that used to look after me and take care of me. And I said to her, I remember you from my last trip almost a decade ago. And she said, I remember you. And for all I know, she was bullshitting me. But if she remembered me, I just enjoyed the connection. But probably the most nurturing part of the trip was seeing the town through the eyes of my friends who had never been there before. I mean, it was just so nice to see my friends from foreign extraction of other countries to really appreciate the essence of a small Mexican town, knowing that the experience is not going to be equivalent of staying at a 5-star hotel or a boutique hotel. Everybody embraced it beautifully, and that was heartwarming. I don't know if this is snark or this is a genuine question. I flushed my toilet paper without any problem because I didn't see any signs that indicated me not to do that. Let's see. Did I fall into the toilet? Yes, I fell into the toilet along with my almost sliced penis. That was interesting. What's with no toilet seats? The toilet seat with the seat looks dicey. It was dicey. 1 too many tequilas and whoopsie, just saying, well, then what you end up doing is you just don't use it. After all, what business do we have just idling on the toilet seat? Just sit down, do whatever you want to do, and just get up. It's not the end of the world. Near castration by toilet sounds like a good title for a memoir. Thank you very much for that. I'll keep that in mind. Oh, this is a nice, I like wordplay. You want to leave your expectations behind, not leave your behind in the toilet. Thank you very much, Sean. That is brilliant. I love it. Um, to me, it's just another adventure. Travel with a smile. Again, some people like luxury travel, some people like basic travel. It's great to have options. Pam pam pam. What? You should try a toilet on an overnight train in Southeast Asia while it is moving. And when you look down into the bowl to see the train tracks, talk about leaving your expectations behind. Oh, ouch. Ouch. Okay, so now we've come to this comment, and I'm going to take a pause on this one because this is important, and I'm going to be as frank and delicate as I can. The comment is those that come to Mexico need to adjust their expectations, period, especially now with the current administration taking aim at Mexican culture here in the US, in my opinion. Diane, I feel for what's going on north of the border, but we're simply not going to discuss it here. We're going to talk about the consequences of what's going on in any place that has anything to do with Mexico. Right now, our president, Presidenta Sheinbaum, is building very strong relationships with many countries like Brazil and China and bringing a lot of prosperity to our country. And there's a lot of prosperity in our country thanks to what is going on in the United States. But do forgive me, and I appreciate your comment, but we're simply not going to discuss the politics of other countries here at Coffee and Headlines. There are plenty of places where that can be done. Okay, moving right along. Let's see. Da 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 da. Did I watch Emilia Perez yet? No. I may watch it this weekend. I may watch it on Tuesday. I don't know. I am very excited to see it. And I'm glad you bring it up. Sean, I was not going to bring up other things, but it is interesting that, there must be something wonderful about a movie that gets so many nods from film experts. It is a musical. And as such, it could be close to reality or not. It is a work of fiction. And what seems to be the problem for a lot of people here in Mexico, two of them. Number one, that it may not have represented Mexico authentically, but again, it is a work of fiction. Number two, and to that effect, a lot of Mexicans have been hurt about that. I mean, there was even this post on the paper about some guy that wanted a refund from Cinepolis because he didn't like the movie. I mean, what the hell? And the other thing is that a lot of people are ruffled because one of the leading actresses, who happens to be transgender, was nominated for an Academy Award. So, interesting. Just interesting. But I'm definitely going to go see it. Let's see. What else? Da 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 da. Think of no toilet seat as a great opportunity to work out your thighs. There you go. And the last comment, Paco, do you ever go camping? I used to in New England when I was younger, and I did a lot of cycling. I did a lot of bicycle touring around New England. So I used to go places with my bicycle and my panniers full with camping gear and whatnot. And but I just don't camp anymore. I'm too old and crotchety for camping. But if you camp, Sean, I think it's a great experience. What a great opportunity to connect with nature. And this brings us to, oh my God, 11:20. We've been here for a while, and it's time for me to get ready for my neurofeedback. So thank you all. Thank you all, and thank you to my friends that joined me on this adventure. It is a pleasure to experience Mexico with people that don't know it, because it is a great opportunity to remember what a beautiful place we're in. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday.